And welcome everybody. If I did everything right here, I'm broadcasting live. If you're out there in TV land, please give me a sign if I'm not live on the air there. Uh, Once again, well, this is the our weekly show for Fearless Flight Live, and I'd like to welcome everybody there. I gotta make some changes behind the screen here. There we go. And anyway, it's been an eventful week there. And let me get my slides over here. We all know that the holidays can bring up a mix of emotions, excitement, anticipation, and for a lot of folks watching tonight, a little extra anxiety about flying. Had a great day yesterday. I flew with one of my VIP students, escorted him up to Denver from LA, and we had a good time. All was well, and he accomplished not the unthinkable, but something that he has been dreading for some time. And uh, uh, the tonight I'm going to take a look at how to make your calmest, most confident holiday travel season yet, if we can. I got a I got a quick personal story about how I got scammed this week, and really, and it taught me a little bit about trust, control, and resilience, which are common themes. Although yours may be the area of flying, hopefully there'll be some connections here. And maybe I'll help some of you or validate, like I did, that none of us are immune from this whole cyber trashing thing that we have. I want to say just a few words about the UPS crash. It was a UPS airplane. Of course, that's a cargo, a freighter that took off out of Louisville last week and made headlines out there. Uh, they were only three crew members on board, not that any lives are minimal, but it killed a number of people on the ground. And so we'll talk a little bit about that to help dispel any rumors or fears you have about that. And finally, I'll wrap up with three simple things that you can do to fly more successfully this holiday season. How to prepare your mind before the flight, how to stay grounded when turbulence hits, and how to lean on uh, our Fearless Flight community for encouragement and support. Because remember, you don't have to be fearless to fly. You just have to be willing, and that's willing to to learn, willing to show up, and to keep those taking those steps forward. So settle in, grab your notebook or your favorite drink, and let's dive in. By the end of tonight's show, hopefully you'll walk away with a few practical tools and a fresh perspective. And a renewed sense of calm and confidence about your next flight there. So, I need to share my screen. And here we go. So, as I said, this is Fearless Flight Live for the this week's edition anyway. And I'd like to welcome you all. So, um, welcome again. Tonight I thought I developed a theme called Confidence, Community, and Calm for the Holiday Skies. And as everybody gets ready out there, if you're flying, put a note, whether you're watching us live or in the replay, if you would put a note in there, tell us if you got a flight coming up, how you're doing, and some of the thoughts you've had there. It'd be fun to share with everybody out there. So without further ado, let's get this going here. Uh, if you haven't already joined our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather Facebook group, now is the time to do that. It's a space that's full of encouragement, success stories, practical tips from people just like you. Uh, I think of it as a virtual hangar, a place where you can everybody hangs around, everybody understands and supports you all. And so you see that link over there. If you haven't joined, please consider going over there. It's free, and it's got a lot of great people in there. So uh, a little bit personal story, how I got hacked. And what I learned in there, or maybe just deepen reinforce my beliefs about myself. But uh, earlier this week, I fell for a scam I never saw coming. I was laying in my bedroom trying to hook up a TV that I recently moved in, and went to watch just something simple, Amazon Prime. No big deal. I've done that before. So I opened the TV up, and you know how you get that um, uh, welcome screen that tells you to gives you hints on how to log in on a new TV there. This in this case to Amazon Prime. So it pops up. It has a website or a URL there. So I put that in my phone because that's one of the easiest ways I've found to log in. And it was a little unusual, but I never thought about it that much. I got to a certain point where I couldn't make it go any further. And so I went back to the screen on my iPhone, and I saw this big old bold letters, which should have been a warning. Another URL said, if you're having problems, call tech support. Said it was Amazon. So I clicked over there. Sure enough, I called up, got this guy on the phone, nice sounding guy from the Philippines, which I went on to tell him when I first greeted him how I've come to really enjoy the Philippine people. It seems to be the number one place in the world where we get tech support over here in America. And I had a personal story. I flew one of my clients who was relocating from the Philippines or from the United States over to the Philippines, where he'd grown up and had immigrated as a small child, and he decided he wanted to go back. So he was nervous about flying. So I flew with him last July, and it was a fun time, and we had a good time. Anyway, so I'm telling this story, and the fella says, "Oh yeah, okay. Here's the problem. You somebody has logged in with you here in Kenya, and they've tagged your account." I'm making this much simpler than it was. It tagged your account, and what we need to do is we need to go over here, and we'll get that. Otherwise, every time you log in, he's going to get 450 bucks. Little did I know, like I know now, that was exactly what he was going to set me up for. And oh my gosh. And I consider myself not completely immune from this, but I've had my fair share of emails that I've seen through and not clicked on, and some text now. They're getting more aggressive in text. And I felt pretty secure in figuring out which ones are fake and which ones were, but I was not in the frame of mind to expect what happened to me. So and the guy was just totally nice, and I'm following along, and I won't even tell you how long it took me. There's a couple things he said right up front, and that I wondered, but my style is not to be confrontational. So I just kind of bit my tongue until I couldn't take it anymore, and that's when I ended the call. And I wanted to get really ugly, but I didn't. I just said, it's chalk one up for life experience, and uh, and I'm a very trusting soul, and that served me well. This won't change my general nature about trusting people and believing in the positive good in people. But the takeaway was that I got nobody's immune from this. And he preyed on my trust without question. It wasn't ignorance. I felt a lot of shame right after that. I spent way into the early hours of the morning canceling all my cards, and starting some of the repair work that you do. And it's going to be pretty significant. It's going to take me a while to recover. So far, nothing financially, but lesson learned. And I, the thing I would say is always verify official websites. I've obviously become more. I was a little bit aware, but when you look at the websites, just like I notice when you go into the app store and you're looking for an app, when you put it up, it's never in the first position. That's always somebody who pays an ad to put themselves up there. It's always like two or three down in there. And this is what I should have perhaps taken a few more minutes to notice, because it was definitely a sham. And I I was off guard. I wanted to share this tonight with you because it reminded me how quickly you can feel powerless and or embarrassed. And those are the same feelings that I know you all feel when you get to the airport. And that was renewed yesterday flying with my client. He just feels powerless when he gets to the airplane, thinking about getting on there. He got on, everything went well. He took a little Xanax or a little Ativan and made it. But anyway, let this be a warning. Don't ruin your holidays like I was on the brink of doing there. So anyway, okay. So I want to say a quick word about the UPS crash that happened. Uh, Many of you have probably seen it in the news last week. Probably didn't occupy the same place in your mind that other crashes do of passenger airplanes because of the fact that there's not that many people on this. Had a crew of three. They had a pilot, a first officer, and probably another captain on board due to the length of the flight. And so fortunately for most of you, probably let it go there. However, it did have some tragic consequences for some people on the ground because it's a highly populated area off the end of the runway there in Louisville where they crash. So but I know that hearing about any aviation accident could stir up feelings of fear and doubt that y'all have, especially for those already working on flight anxiety. It's completely understandable. And when you hear about a crash, you immediately jump to worst case scenarios. So let's slow down that reaction if you had one going and look at the facts, not the fear of what happened here. What we know so far is and the investigators are still examining the details. So we try not to jump to any conclusions. The one thing you can trust is the NTSB is on the scene despite the shutdown in the government, and they use a process that's methodical, it's professional, and it's incredibly thorough. Uh, every aviation accident is looked at from every possible angle and not to assign blame, but to learn from it. And that's why it has become so safe. In fact, the safest way to travel on the planet. And that's one of the extraordinary things about aviation is we never stop learning. And if we did this as well in highway safety, we wouldn't kill 40,000 people every year. So think about this. Over the past 30 years, safety technology and our pilot training has advanced. They both advanced to the point where commercial air travel has become the safest way to transport humans around the planet. So when you hear about an accident like this, try to frame that as not proof that flying is risky, but evidence that the system works. And every pilot, airline, and regulator in the world learns from this, as we will from this one. Uh, the aviation's commitment to safety is relentless, and every improvement, every checklist, every piece of equipment, and every training scenario that I used to practice in the sim exists because of what we learned from the past. And that's why when you step onto an airplane today, you're stepping into the safest, most analyzed, and best managed system that was ever created. Uh, the UPS crash raised anxiety for some of you, and what we know about it is that it took off. They reported seeing some flames and literally an engine separated from the airplane. It had only been out of overhaul for about a month, which normally you think of everything working at peak performance and something like that. And uh, so we'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, in a crash like this, there is such destruction that it takes a while to accumulate evidence of what might have happened there. So uh, just be patient. We'll keep on top of this and come back to you with details as they're learned. So. Okay, I just wanted to talk a little bit about and give you three keys to how you might fly more successful during the holidays. Uh, they aren't complicated techniques. I've greatly summarized a lot of the detail that you've heard me talk about from week to week, but they represent small shifts that can make a huge difference when it comes to manage your anxiety before and during your flight. The first key is to prepare your mind before the flight. And this one is all about mindset. The second key is to practice the pause during the flight. For many of you, it's inevitable that you'll get to a point where the anxiety will peak, usually once or twice at least on the flight. And this would be your go-to tool when things get bumpy, pun intended. And the third key is connect. You're not alone. Fear loves isolation, and the more you feel alone you feel, the bigger the fear grows. So let's look into those with just a little bit more detail. So before you even get to the airport and start working on your mindset, that anxious feeling you get ahead of time, that's just your brain trying to protect you. It's not danger, despite the fact that it feels like it. It's just your mind's way of saying, hey, this matters to me. So talk to yourself like a good coach would. Say, you've got this, and use your name. You're prepared, you practiced, and you're ready. And that's what we call distance self-talk, where you put the advice into the third person and detach a little bit from the overwhelming insideness that you feel about this. Take a few minutes to relax, and this is where breathing comes in. Settle your thoughts and put on the harmonizer if you got it. This is a great place if you weren't already listening to it. Or you can use your favorite guided visualization or music, anything that normally will let you calm down, and something that's interesting to you, so that your brain doesn't say, "Hey, I know what you're trying to do. I'm going back to what I was worried about." The more you practice setting this tone before the flight, the easier it becomes to carry that calm into you until you or through you while you're bored and on the flight. Before you ever get to the airport, you got to work on that mindset. Second thing is practice the pause during the flight. This is something that probably don't talk about enough, and that is when turbulence or whatever causes you to have those peak moments of anxiety. When you start to feel that wave of tension, pause right there. Take a slow breath in for 4 seconds at least, and then exhale for 6. If you don't remember the 4 and 6, just time yourself. Look at your watch, and however long it took you to breathe in, to inhale, double the time for your exhale. And as you breathe, label what's happening. Hey, this is anxiety, not danger. When you're saying that to yourself, helps remind you that what you're experiencing is a feeling, maybe generating some thoughts to go along with it. It doesn't represent reality. And that small phrase helps your brain separate emotion from reality. It's not about stopping the feeling, because you can't do that. It's about recognizing it for what it is. Now, picture that model that we use, the elephant and the rider. Your calm, logical mind gently guides your elephant. That's the part that you've got to access during these peak moments. Uh, you've got to guide that elephant, your emotional side, with steady direction. And when you do this, you shift from being in turbulence emotionally, and maybe as well as physically, to simply observing it. And we're one of the few, if not the only species, who can actually have an experience and then step back from the experience as if we were kind of having an out of body experience, to literally look at yourself and have peace of mind saying, you know what, that's me going through something. That's not all of who I am. I got a lot of other resources here. And when you do this, you shift from being in the turbulence emotionally to simply observing it. And that one shift can completely change your in-flight experience, which is all you need. You just need to get yourself through that moment. Let's see. And doing that hopefully will make a difference. And the last tip is talking about connecting and reminding yourself that you're not alone. Flying gets a whole lot easier when you remember you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to others. That's why we offer the Birds of a Feather Fearless Flight group. There's so many other people out there who understand what you're going through. Share your progress, your wins. Talk to us about before you're going. Get some support, and then when you get done, tell everybody about what it was like. no matter what it was like. Don't forget to journal, and especially your tough moments. When you do that, you realize something powerful. Courage doesn't happen in isolation. It grows through connecting to others. That's why we built the Fearless Flight community. And it is a place where people just like you can say, hey, I get it. And they can say, hey, I get it. I understand you better. Remember, you don't need to be fearless to fly. You just need to be willing to show up and persevere, willing to take the next step each time. And in each time you do, you're proving to yourself that you can. And that's what this is all about. Uh, Remember, as we wrap up tonight, I want you to remember something that simple but powerful. Confidence doesn't come out of nowhere. It's built through preparation. That may involve education. It may be involved practicing with the harmonizer, any number of things. It's built through preparation, perspective, and practice. The same way that we as pilots build our skills, and that gives us the confidence to fly confidently. One flight at a time. That's all you got to do. So keep staying connected and be part of our Fearless Flight community, because when you when you share your journey, you remind yourself that you're not only in this, you're not alone in this. Every time you fly, every time that you use and practice what you've learned, you're getting stronger. You're not just flying through the air, you're flying through fear. And that is the shortest way to fearless flight. It's through it, not around it. And the most important thing is you're flying into freedom. And that, friends, is what this is all about. I'd like to say one last plea here. I'm still in a development stage for this month's Fearless Flight or our live monthly group coaching webinar. And so if you got any special topics or any questions, please send them to me at captainron@fearlessflight.com, because I'd love to include your questions and help to make it a little bit more personal for all of you out there. It's just the most exciting thing to me is to have your questions around which and then develop the content for the webinars. And great timing, it'll be just before Thanksgiving, so it'll be your last chance before Thanksgiving to get a little support and maybe a little learning to help you have just the best experience this year as ever, getting to where you're going for Thanksgiving. Okay. So as we wrap up tonight's Fearless Flight, I just want to say how proud I am of each and every one of you out there. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or whether you've been part of this community for a while, you're doing something that's really, really adventuresome and powerful. You're choosing courage over avoidance. And in doing that, you're showing up. Remember, confidence isn't something you either have or don't have. It's something you build. One thought at a time, one breath, one flight at a time. No different than when I was learning how to fly airplanes. You build it little by little. And it doesn't matter what happened to you. It doesn't matter that you've had bad experiences. You can learn to make each one better. And each time you practice with our tools, whether it's preparing your mind for the flight, pausing during moments of turbulence like we talked about tonight, or leaning into the Fearless Flight community, you are reinforcing the truth that you can handle this. So as you head into the holiday season, carry this with you. You're not alone. You're much stronger than you think. And every single time you fly, you're not just flying through the air, you're flying through fear and into freedom, as I said before. Thanks for being a part of this amazing community, and keep showing up, keep practicing, and keep believing in yourself. I'll see you guys next time on Fearless Flight Live next week at this time. So have a great week and keep flying. Okay, we'll see everybody. Bye-bye.